Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today we're doing, I was about to say Pochettino's Tottenham, oh my goodness. Everton versus the Spursy. Ange Postecoglou, I think, is going to get the sack anytime soon. You just can't keep doing these performances and get away with it. I think they're near the relegation battle now. I think they're right next to Everton. But there's a couple of problems with people like Postecoglou and that guy that's just come in and taken over Manchester United. He's a little bit different because he openly admits he can only coach one system. So when Postecoglou doesn't have all of his key players because they're all injured and his system relies on the pace of the centre-backs and all of these things, you have to change the system to the players that you have. You don't just go, oh, we're just going to continue on doing the thing. Yeah, but you don't have the players for the thing. Yeah, but we're just going to do it anyway because it's the way we are. It's like, you're in just cloud cuckoo land. You cannot do that. If you do not have the personnel, you cannot play the system. It's basics. Like, come on. Yeah, but all of a sudden, Everton have decided to find their feet from David Moyes, which I completely hate going back to Everton. And if you know the history why, the reason why I don't like him going there is because he was working for Manchester United as he was the Everton manager. He was taking money from United all the time. Like, you can't do that. You screwed over your own football club to go and work for... No. They should never, ever have hired this guy back into their football club. You don't have a snake come back into you. Do you trust him again? No. You don't trust someone who's getting paid by the enemy while you're working. No. And then he goes and works for them. Oh, and obviously Rooney went there and there's a whole load of backdoor deals and everything else that was going on. I mean, geez, you just don't do that. But Everton are passing the ball quite clean and crisp and they're knocking it about quite comfortably. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin here is just class. Little bump. Right, so here, you're in this situation. Now, this is the problem. Because of the way that you've over-pressured there, you need to pressure this ball here. You need to try to stop something here, right? But you can't and you can't because your whole team is over here because your system is a complete and utter mess. So as they move forward, look, watch what happens. As soon as he takes the ball, he doesn't know what to do. And neither does he. Now, first off, he needs to be getting touch tight to him. And the reason he needs to do that is to allow him to go and pressure the ball. The closer he gets to him, it just basically frees this player up so he can get to this. But if he doesn't, if he just leaves that separation space there, this is what ends up happening. He doesn't do anything. He's a no man. He's just stood there behind the player. He can't tackle him. He's not close enough to him. He's on the wrong side of him for a start. He didn't get close enough to the ball. So basically, two players here did absolutely nothing and allow them just to link up in front of the goal. Boom, links it up. Now, this is just down to Dominic Calvert-Lewin deciding that he's going to score a goal and he's just going to twist and turn and put on a bit of skill as much as he can. There's 4 players around him, but don't worry. They're all going to Spursy it right up. So as we go through, one little donk change, turns them over. Everyone's turning direction. Bump change the other way, and then just puts it into the net box. Keeper's got no chance. 3 Spursy players crashing into each other because they're all just been sent around, down there, as they would say in Liverpool, down for the echo, as we're in Liverpool. I know Everton fans will hate saying that, but we're not in Everton. Are we in Everton? Technically, I'm not sure. But there we go. Well, let's move it on. Oh my God. If I was coaching at under 10s and my team did this, right, I'd probably just forfeit the game because they're terrible. I mean, I've never ever seen how bad these players are in the modern day. It's awful, right? You're running and pressuring the football because that's what you're supposed to do in this ridiculous system of some nonsense. The ball isn't dangerous because he's facing that way, right? What is dangerous is the space behind you, because if he gives it to someone and he puts it in that space, you are done unless you have a covering player. Where's your covering? Oh, here's your covering player. He's decided to come running up the field with you for some reason. Look at this. These 2 players here, and they've just got the entire field to run into. What are you 2 doing? It's unbelievable. I only got 1, 2, 3, 4 players, right, that cannot cover or protect you. So you can see that straight away. If you go, that's 5 and 6. Then you're back 4. Who's covering for you if you're pressuring up here this high? Your job is to cover for these 2 when they pressure, and you cover for... If you come up here and pressure, that means your centre-backs have to cover for you. The centre-backs aren't coming up here. It's just insane. I don't understand how people can get to this level and still do this and not be called out. Because we know no one's going to call out on Sky Sports or any of that nonsense because they don't even really see what's happening. And then watch this. Here he is right here. In his own half by, we'd say what? Maybe 12 yards. No, it's maybe 10. Okay, maybe 10 yards. Ball gets played. Boomf. Now what does everyone do? Because there's no covering player. He's now done. You know, you can just see him. He was going to go. He's going, oh, wait, no, I can't go. I'm going to get done here. Actually, him going there and taking him out was probably the right decision. If he goes down and just takes a yellow card for the team, that would probably be the right decision, because what he does do is not the right decision. What he decides to do is let him openly run all the way through, start backpedaling and trying to get there. There isn't a single Spursy player that can get anywhere near him because both of them ran up to the other side of the field. You can pressure the ball if you have cover. You can't pressure the ball if you don't have cover, because they'll pass it into the space you just came from, you complete clowns. And that's, again, what's happened. As he's running here, though, right, let's move it up. He does him with a little bit of skill. It's not really the skill. I'm going to see if I can show you from the other angle, because I've talked about this, and I'm going to show this on my coaching sessions that I'm starting to do on Mondays. This Mondays is going to be a great one. It's about why people don't pressure the ball in the Premier League. You're not going to think it's about that until the end of the video, and you're going to go, oh, it all makes sense now. Right. It's the head movement and the shoulders and the hips that beat the players, not the fancy footwork. Never is the fancy footwork. It's always the head movement and the shoulder movement. The feet are just for show. But he does a really good job here. Bump with the head movement, gets his yard of space, and now he's got to score. And quite honestly, it's a decent strike as well. I mean, he rifles this past the keeper. He does. One, yeah, really well done. Good taking goal. But think about that. From his own half, from 10 yards in, he ran all the way down and nobody tried to tackle him. Nobody. Yeah. Spursy are in trouble. Big trouble. Okay, I can't pause it quick enough, unfortunately. I want you to see, look at his hips, right? His head. This is where he's going. And watch, when they turn, he turns. It's subconscious reaction. Do you see that? When his hip stood? Let's just go back ever so slightly again. Watch. Watch this foot here. Watch. Do we see that? As soon as those hips turn, he turns. All subconscious. It's a huge thing. Yeah, that's why Peter Beardsley used to do the Beardsley shuffle and walk past people just because he shuffled his hips. It's that simple. The quickness of that. And he wasn't stopping to wait for his reaction. As soon as he's done it, he's exploding and exploiting the half step. And that's what makes it being able to beat the guy and get his shot off. Not sit there to do another trick. Now he's done his trick and he's passed him. Perfect. And yes, you can be that good as a footballer if you just have one trick and you can execute it every time. Yeah, you can be that good. Okay, this starts all the way back here with a player that I cannot stand. I actually think he's a decent footballer. I don't know. It's just one of those people. I just see his little face and his floppy hair, and you're just like, oh, you're a prat, mate. It's James Maddison, and he's nowhere near pressuring this ball or doing anything. This guy's coming from the blind side. It doesn't matter. But he's not doing anything. Get close to the ball. He's not. He's not stopping the cross come in. This is an easy cross to stop in, and he doesn't stop it. There's enough players back here for Spursy to deal with it, but because of this line, and they're playing a high line and they haven't dropped, look where every single player is facing. They are all running towards their own goal. And when you go, oh, it doesn't matter because anyone can touch it and it can go into the goal. That's why you don't defend this higher. You defend back here when the ball is here, so they can't do this and whip the ball in, and everyone's facing their own goal, because the chances of you knocking it in your own net for an own goal is just as the chances of them scoring one. Now, they do end up scoring an own goal here, and this is the other problem. In football, there are these weird sort of anomalies that go along when you know that you should be doing a certain thing and you don't do it, because if you don't do the certain thing, an own goal will happen, and then 2 seconds later, an own goal happens, not directly because you didn't do the thing, but of a counter thing. So let me show you what I'm talking about with all that rambling of utter nonsense. When this ball drops in, look, they're not quite set to defend it, because look, they're all facing their own goal. So when it gets knocked back, none of these players are really able to deal with it. You've still got 1, 2 players running towards their own goal. So if the ball comes across, they're only going to knock it this way. So when it's head back across, dumph, it's knocked into his own goal. You knew that was going to happen from the starting position all the way back when. That's why you don't give them that space, or you go back and you drop it in, because this happens more often than not. You'll be surprised at how often that you end up scoring an own goal on yourself because you're not back. You've given that extra 4 or 5 yards thinking, oh, we'll play the offside line or whatever. This happens loads of times, especially when you're bad at football. And that's what's happening right here. This is just an awful goal to concede by Everton. I think Jordan Pickford's one of the worst goalkeepers that's ever been in the Premier League. People class this guy as a good goalkeeper. He's not. I would never want him anywhere near any team I coached or played on. He's one of those people that's always blaming others, yelling at everybody else about everything else, and makes so many clangers. It's unbelievable. But because he plays for England or he's English, no one calls him on it. If this was a foreign goalkeeper, he would have been gone 10 years ago. But he's not. Yeah, it's just despicable. Ball comes in. He comes running out like an absolute clown. Don't know why. He could just stand there and be strong right there. If he just stood still, that's all he'd have to do. Stand still and let the player try to beat him. That's it. As soon as you go outside of that 6-yard box, you are done. He's not quick of feet. He's not a good football player. He's not going to stop the guy. And look, what's he doing out here? What's he doing? Now, there's a weird thing, right? If you've ever had someone like the old goalkeeper coaches, I'm talking like in the 80s and stuff, they would tell you right now to dive on that ball, go between his legs, and you put your hands on that ball. That's what they would tell you back then. You get on the floor on your hands and knees and you run around and you get that ball. That's what they'd say. He does none of that. Just ends up clowning around, getting beaten. The ball ends up dropping, and of course, after a couple of ricochets, it's chipped over his head into the goal because he's an absolute clown. You don't do that. Absolute clown. But let's talk about clowns, because he also lets in the next goal as well. So here we are. We're looking for a ball in from the Spursy. It's going to drop right there. This is the point where Jordan Pickford can catch the ball, do anything, kick it away, and you've got Richarlison coming in, who ends up knocking it in against his own old club. But you look at where Jordan Pickford has stood. He is right there on that post. When this ball comes in here, right, you can see where he is. There's Richarlison making the run. This is simple for a goalkeeper to deal with. He can step forward and catch it. He can take 2 steps forward and catch it. He can see it coming in. He can do absolutely anything he wants. What he chooses to do is dive on Richarlison instead, right? That's what he does. As this ball comes across, there it is, completely whiffed it, and then he jumps on Richarlison. Doof. His feet are in concrete the whole time. 1 step, catch. All he has to do. 1 step, catch. Can't do it. Could have taken 2 steps forward, jump and caught. Didn't do it. Feet were in concrete, didn't move. Shocking goalkeeper. Shouldn't be in the Premier League. And not only that, he's a bad teammate. Other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Yells at Everton players.